50 political Facebook pages in Britain were all removed via this DMCA takedown, and they were people who have been upset about the reforms going on over there that roll back some of the student loans and all the stuff that's going on in England right now. All those Facebook pages taken down because of this reverse DMCA. Facebook obstinately, and ours had if ours did not have the clout that it had, it would not have gotten its page back. And they received tales from other people who had lost their Facebook page the same way. Facebook so far has released a perfunctory statement on the matter, a press release saying, let me see if I can read exactly what Facebook's...
Yeah, well, while you're doing that, I just wanted to let everyone know I have sent a DMCA notice of copyright infringement to myself.
Oh, dear.
And we will report back on what happens.
Oh, man, you're just asking for trouble at that point.
I really am. We'll see what happens. I want to see if I can DMCA myself. We'll see if anything happens of it. I mean, I haven't gotten any emails. My Facebook page is still up. So, I mean, this wasn't automatic. There's someone here doing something. At least now. Although, I am logged into my Facebook account, so maybe somebody's going to look at it and go, you know, Jason, you're kind of an idiot, right?
Okay. The official statement from Facebook was, we have invested significant resources into creating a dedicated team that uses specialized tools, systems, and technology to review and properly handle intellectual property notices. The system evaluates a number of factors when deciding how to respond, and, in many cases, we require the reporter to provide additional information before we can take action. As a result of these efforts, the vast majority of intellectual property notices we receive are handled without incident. Of course, no system is perfect, and we are always striving to improve our practices. As such, we will be considering the results of our investigation into this matter as we continue to refine our systems and procedures. Corporate speak.
Corporate speak for, yeah, this one kind of bit us in the ass, and we're going to try and fix it up a little bit.
Now, the main reason Facebook does it this way is because it's less trouble. It's less effort on their part. All they have to do is take down the page and say, you two figure it out, and when you do, call us.
But when there's no other party on the other line, it's just sort of a one-way conversation with a busy tone.
Right, and they don't get a call, so hey, what do they care? Nobody calls them back. Problem resolved.
Problem solved. We figured, yay. It really just seems like an exploit that Facebook's going to have to work on. Maybe just rethink their procedure. I mean, it sounds like from the corporate speak that they gave everyone that it is something they are going to look at and maybe try and adjust to. But it happened, and thus Facebook got bit in the ass for it.
But what's annoyed me about it is it took taking down recognized sites before Facebook went, whoops. Individual users here and there, this was happening to them, and they had no recourse. They could do nothing, and Facebook would not respond to them. There was no number they could call. There was no one. There were emails that were not returned. That is the biggest problem here. It took having someone like Ars Technica to go, what are you doing, for Facebook to actually respond. But if it had been you or me, we would just be right. We'd just be high and dry.
Just be out and floating out and nowhere in Facebook land anymore.
Right.
That's not like I use Facebook for anything.
Well, that is another question. Is Facebook going away at this point? Has Facebook hit its peak and is it tapering off?
It's still growing.
It's still growing?
Still getting more users, still getting more internet traffic.
Huh.
I think it's like the third most visited site on the internet now. Or second.
That just stuns me.
Right behind Google. Yeah.
Why is it everybody I say says, I've got a Facebook page, but I never use it?
Because everybody's got a Facebook page. Because everybody is always goaded into like, hey, you got to get a Facebook page. I know for myself, I got a Facebook page early on because I used to work for somebody who was really big into social marketing. And he was like, you got to get a Facebook page. And I got one. And now all I use it for is marketing. That's it.
No.
I don't talk to anyone on it. I hate the Facebook chat feature. Oh God, excuse me, I kept burping. I don't use the private messaging feature, any of that. You know why? I've got an IRC channel, I've got an IM client, and I've got an email address.
Yeah,
I don't need Facebook.
I've found that Twitter is less invasive if I want to get information out to people, and it's easier to get at, and it's simpler. Facebook always seems complex, and to do the simplest things like you check your account settings, your app permissions, all this stuff, seems just such a chore, and it's digging.
Well, a lot of people like the games on Facebook. I myself don't. I'm not a Farmville fan. I'm not really any sort of Facebook game fan. To be honest with you, even on my cell phone that I got from Virgin Mobile, I don't use it. The only reason I have it is because I need something in case of an emergency. It's the only reason I have a cell phone. All of this, it really just seems to me, Nash, not just Facebook, but a lot of this tech stuff is just needless fluff.
Yeah.
Very, very needless fluff. I mean, go ahead, look at your cell phone and tell me you absolutely need it to survive.
Oh, I don't. No way. I could get by on... It's my main phone contact, but if I had to, I could get by on just, a dial pad and a little LCD tell me which number I dialed. And I did that for years, and I got on just fine.
Yeah, I mean... now, obviously, as my schedule gets busier and busier, I need, I do need, more, I do need more interactivity, more feedback, so having a smartphone is helpful in managing my contacts and having that sort of connectivity to sort of sync up with Outlook and all of that stuff. It's very, very useful to me, but at the end of the day, I've got so many apps on here that I'm not going to use. There's, Android VNC, Android IRC, BeyondPod. I'm not going to use any of these. HBO Go, I tried using HBO Go. It's a piece of crap. And by the way, using HBO Go on my phone, that's terrible. I've got a 2.5 gigabyte limit, and then I get dropped down to 2G speeds.
That,
so what's the point?
Well, first off, I'll say, my phone, I use it for when I'm not on my computer and I'm traveling around, I use it for web browsing and all the other stuff. However, I could get by just as fine with a phone and a netbook, which is, same dang difference. I just have it all on my phone for convenience sake, not necessity sake. When I just need my phone, I just need a phone, that's it.
Well, I mean, it just seems to me that it's a lot of fluff that's just not necessary.
Oh, yeah.
And if anything, I would be extremely concerned if I was, say, Facebook, or even Apple for that matter. Because if this comes to a head and we hit maybe another bump in the economic spectrum, Facebook and Apple are the guys who are going to be bit the hardest.
Yeah, and actually that brings up part of what the other thing I wanted to talk about. AT&T this week has said they are going to be instituting caps to their DSL service. And I know not everybody here uses AT&T DSL.
To their DSL and their UVerse service.
And their UVerse service. The UVerse service is the same as Comcast. It's 250 gigabytes. That's the same one that Comcast puts in place.
DSL service only
150 gigabytes.
Why?
And if you go above that, I think you're given 3-strike grace period, but if you go above that, they'll charge you $10 per every 50 gigabytes you go above it.
Per every 50 gigabytes.
But that's still, if you go above it, and you do
it 3 times, yeah.
Right. But if you do it 3 times and you hit, say, 1 gigabyte above it, you're still getting that $10 charge.
Is bandwidth really that
It's
expensive?
It's not. It's not, but the thing is, it's a matter of competition. Broadband is taking great large bites out of standard entrenched media delivery, like radio, like television, like newspapers, and the place where that these the broadband providers have a vested interest is cable.
Yes.
Netflix is obviously tearing them apart right now.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a Netflix account and I love it. I've got just the streaming account. I don't even get DVDs anymore. I just do streaming.
Right. You miss a show, you're like, hey, or you don't even watch a show. You're like, hey, you know what, 30 Rock? I want to see 30 Rock this week. You just go to Netflix.
Well, Leo J in the chat room has a good point here, and it's actually true. He says it's a way to manipulate services. AT&T will lift the cap for their own video streaming service while stabbing Netflix in the nuts. Yeah, Leo J. In fact, they've already announced that Uverse direct on-demand video and Uverse streaming doesn't affect their caps.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's very obvious that they're trying to direct people towards their own in-house services. It just makes me think that this is extremely anti-competitive. I mean, to a point where it's just blatant. And it makes me wonder, if you're really that concerned about broadband users just using their broadband connections to use a streaming service, then why not just raise the price of broadband across the board? Why institute a cap?
I don't have a good answer for that.
See, because this is interesting, because I think Verizon does try to dissuade users from using streaming services like Netflix, but they don't institute a cap, because I'm on Verizon Fios. I don't have a cap. I have a 35 megabit download, 35 megabit upload, and they take the opinion of, and I've spoken with several inside Verizon reps. They take the opinion of, it's your internet connection. Do what you want with it. You've paid for it. But here's the thing. I've compared the cost of my internet connection to, say, like Uverse, and I pay a premium for it compared to Uverse. Now, I am getting a very reliable service. I am getting faster speeds, but I am paying about a $30 to $40 premium over Uverse. And I think maybe Verizon did that in retaliation to losing television audience to broadband.
Yeah, a lot of people are cutting the cord right now because it's cheaper. The only reason I still have cable television service is because they lower the price of my broadband if I get a basic cable package.
I'll tell you the truth, Nash. The only reason I have Ultimate HD is for two reasons. One, I'm a sports fanatic, and two, my family watches a lot of television. I don't watch a lot of television. In fact, what I'm watching right now is frame rate on live.twit.tv while I'm doing the show. I hardly ever watch television. Once in a while, I'll turn on like Wealth TV, or I'll turn on like these obscure channels that Fios gets, because I love watching the obscure stuff. But I hardly ever watch it. And then I'm watching, obviously, on HBO Go. I'm watching Game of Thrones, because my God, that was just amazing. But besides the occasional thing, if it was just me, I couldn't justify the $60 I'm paying for this service.
Yeah, there's so many other ways to get the exact same things. You got your Hulu, you got your Netflix, you have other less reputable means.
Well, but I mean, you got Netflix. You can't get HBO Go unless you. And HBO Go is kind of a big thing, but you can't get HBO Go unless you've got a cable subscription. You can't subscribe to it. You have to be on a cable provider. You can't get Showtime Go, Cinemax, Epix, those types of things, mobile, without having a cable subscription. They've signed into this. They've locked into this. In fact, you can't even get Howard Stern TV without being on a cable provider. I can't get it. I'm on Fios, and that's just over fiber optic instead of copper. You have to be on Cablevision, Comcast, or Time Warner Cable to get Howard Stern TV. It just really seems to me they're trying to lock in exclusive deals, and the more they lock in exclusive deals, the more it makes me not want to work with them.
Right, and the one thing they have never learned about the internet is the more, I think AOL was the perfect example of this, the more you try to make yourself the only way that people will access all their content, the less and less people will start to gravitate you. AOL died because they kept trying to strangle everything into that tiny little proprietary nonsense.
Yeah, they tried to build it all into that AOL thing, but I kind of disagree with you there. They never adapted to the broadband world. They never adapted to it. They outsourced it to, I think it was, Earthlink or something. They had AOL Broadband, which was just basically a DSL line, or if you could get cable, that, and they charged you extra for no reason because they actually weren't your ISP at that point. I think AOL died for a number of reasons, and I think it was because, I think the primary reason, or at least this is my argument, that dial-up died in the major metropolitan areas.
Well, we're looking at cable dying right now, cable television in its own way. We're going to get
television, sure, but they're going to fight tooth and nail on this one,
right?
And they already are. They're pulling out some pretty ugly tricks.
But there really is no stopping this. There's just scorched earth along the way is all they can manage, and that's not going to endear them to anybody.
No, absolutely not. It's not endearing them to me.